So good day everyone, my topic is all about dealing effectively with troubled employees. Our definition of bad behavior comes not from what an individual person does or doesn't do, but from the overall impact that their behavior has on the team's mission and on its effectiveness. Almost all work is done by teams, so anything that harms their output is unacceptable. So what are the characteristics of bad employees? Number one is being disrespectful to customers, co-workers, or managers. So if employees are disrespectful to customers, it can seriously damage the businesses or the organization's reputation. Similarly, a lack of respect towards co-workers or managers can make the organization volatile and uncomfortable. Next is not taking responsibility for actions. So other employees may deflect and point fingers when they make a mistake. So why do employees make mistakes? So employees make mistakes due to a lack of training, they are being rushed or inattentive, they are not properly planning for a task or project, and they are not asking for assistance when needed. Next is taking the credit of others. So this is the flip side of not taking responsibility. Some employees may swoop in and take credit for other people's success. They might take the credit away from more introverted team members or subordinates who are not present to defend themselves. Next is gossip in the workplace. Gossip is rampant in most workplaces. Sometimes it seems as if people have nothing better to do than gossip about each other. So they are the people who talk about the company, their co-workers, and their managers. Next is not extending themselves. Not all employees are willing to contribute. So if you have an employee who often responds with, "It is not my job," well, you might want to have a conversation with that employee. Next is unwillingness to learn. So the truth is there are no learning problems in a corporate setting. There are only people who are unwilling to learn. So what are the effects of a bad attitude in the workplace? So when managers or the supervisors do not hold poor employees accountable, almost everyone is unhappy. So it may decrease the productivity and performance. So bad attitudes spread. So this is why we must address the issue quickly. A single person's bad attitude can have a huge effect on the operation of the organization. Productivity is the key, but it is hard to complete your work if you are only spending your shift complaining about the job or airing your grievances about your supervisor to anyone. Next is it makes your customer unhappy. So if your customers encounter bad attitudes from your employees, they won't come back. Customers don't want to deal with snippy or rude representatives, and employee apathy leads to blown project deadlines and incomplete fulfillment of orders. Next is it creates a toxic work environment. So unfortunately, all it can take is just one person who can transform the workplace into a toxic work environment. Even the most positive employees are bound to break down when they are forced to work with extremely negative peers on a regular basis, because nobody wants to be around someone who's constantly talking about how terrible everything is. Next is it may hinder your advancement. So apart from losing out on all the good times, you may not even be chosen for a promotion. So the negative effects of having a bad attitude could lead to having a very bad impression. So employees are always in search of people who have good skills and those who have a technical know-how or possesses an attitude which is needed to have a great deal with people. Next is it may overshadow your achievements. So let's say na you might be really good at your job, but if your supervisor or your manager only think of the innumerable examples of your apathy, then it will be difficult for him to select you for a promotion. The first thing that springs to his mind is your negative behavior, not your accomplishments. Next is risking your job security. So if you continue with your bad attitude, you might actually end up losing your job. So eventually, those who have a bad attitude will not be able to secure anything good in their job. The manager will have no choices left but to take action against those. So how do you deal with this kind of employees, with troubled employees? No? First is, of course, identifying the problem. So what defines a difficult employee? Is it a person who is a little unorthodox in his approach to work but stays inside the lines enough to avoid disciplinary issues? Or the worker whose manager never helped set him up for success or who put him in a no-win situation? We can all identify specific behaviors that cause us to label employees, but the most important questions are, what is the root cause of people's actions? Why would individuals choose to act out in the place where they make their livelihood? So sometimes one person is the clear cause of an organization's problem. Other times, you must identify the underlying causes for general discontent. We can't fix employees. They are the people we decided to hire, so we are responsible for identifying what may be causing them to act in that manner. I'm not saying that you should tolerate employees who are insubordinate, violent, or threatening, because those are grounds for immediate dismissal. Let's just try to listen and try not to make assumptions. Sometimes the difficult employee is not your problem. It is the organization's culture. Also, do not expect the problem to resolve itself. No? Do not ignore the problem. Ignoring it will only worsen the situation. So if you are perceived as ignoring a troubled employee, some of your top employees could leave. So the bottom line is, there is too much at stake to ignore the problem. Next is communicate. So how you interact with your employee in question is critical to your success. Try to create a professional and comfortable environment where the employee feels welcome to share what they are experiencing. Don't go in making negative comments or accusations, because your goal is a relaxed, free-flowing discussion, and you should demonstrate that you care, but you're also there to meet the goals of the organization. You should have a two-way conversation with the challenging employee. Listen to their feedback so you can understand where the problem lies and acknowledge any workplace issues that might be contributing to the negative behavior. Sometimes, just feeling listened to is enough for the employee to feel better and improve their behavior. Next is, don't make assumptions. Don't jump to conclusions. Have a seek to understand conversation. So when you open a dialogue with the person, find out if they are aware of their behavior and its impact on the team. So if not, tactfully offer specific examples illustrating why you found the meeting necessary. Critique behavior, not people. So it is important that you don't make the conversation overly personal or emotional. Your end goal is to reach a solution to the problem, not to spark a confrontation. So to do that, it is important to focus specifically on inappropriate or undesirable behavior of the employee. Next is suggest improvements. So once you determine the problem, then the appropriate tools and resources can be brought to bear. First, ask them to articulate what support they need to improve their behavior. Remind the employee that a part of their job performance is measured by how well they contribute to the organization's success. So typical solutions can include an employee's various training and other tools that might help the employee in areas where there may be gaps. So there is no one-size-fits-all solution. Tailor your approach to the needs of that employee that allows them the best chance for successfully reintegrating with the team. Also, try to write down your expectations. Detail your expectations for what needs to improve and set a timeline for improvement. Write down a clear plan of action with a specific timeline and evaluation framework for measuring success. Work together toward a solution. The ideal result when you discuss a difficult employee's behavior with them is that the two of you work together to develop a solution you both agree on. Next is follow through. So at this point, you've had a tough conversation, you uncovered the underlying issues, and implemented a tailored plan. So now you must step back and monitor the individual's progress. So depending on the situation, you could consider transferring the employee to a different team or business unit. But a transfer is not something you want to make a habit because that often does not solve the underlying issue. So if the undesirable behavior continues, consider disciplinary action. So if human resources are not already involved, now would be the time to loop them in. So consult the HRD. So schedule meetings with the human resources team to discuss the situation. The HR will understand all the company policies and process for handling difficult employees and terminating their employment if necessary. So that would be all. Thank you for listening.